What's up, everyone? I'm James Lynch. In today's video, I'm going to be counting down the top 5 biggest UFC upsets based purely on numbers. Big shout out to Nick Kalikas, MMA oddsmaker, who gave me these odds. He basically took the average of a bunch of books and put together numbers-wise what the biggest upsets were. So some of these will be ones that either you forgot about or didn't think of, and there's some controversial ones here as well. But we're going to go from 5 to 1, and then I'm going to add some honorable mentions as well. So the first one that comes in on our list, nothing controversial about it, but it was a big upset. And by the way, I'll have the timestamps in the description so you can see the exact odds here. But Nicholas Dalby cashing in as a plus 455 favorite. This was back at UFC Fight Night on November 4th, taking on Gabriel Bonfim. And you can see it here. By the way, shout out to Wire Martial Arts, who got a lot of these already on his list. But we're going to go look at the finish here. Again, UFC wanted Bonfim to win. He's an up-and-coming prospect, minus 600. Nicholas Dalby getting close to 40. They didn't want him to win here. But check out this performance. This guy is an absolute warrior. Comes in, gets the finish. One of the biggest upsets this year, and I'm sure this is on a lot of people's list here, but this comes in at a number 5 spot with Dalby cashing as a plus 460 favorite. On my list, he came in at plus 455 from Nick, so we'll go with that. Okay, next fight. This is what I meant by something controversial. The Zubiara and Elves Brener fight, considered one of the worst robberies this year. I think people kind of forget about this. Fight took place February 11th, UFC 284, and Elves Brener cashing in as a plus 470 underdog. Zubiara was a minus 625 favorite. And if you go look on MMA decisions, not a single media member scored the fight for Elves Brener in this one. Again, bad robbery, bad judges scorecard in this one. Took place in Australia, so really no excuses. Not like Brenner's Australian or anything. Not sure what the judges saw there. Derek Cleary, Evan Field, and Barry Foley scoring the fight for the Brazilian. Bad fight. But again, if anyone had any money on Elves Brener, you're cashing in on that plus 470. So again, we're just going off the numbers here. We're not going off what people thought going into fights. This was the number 4 biggest upset this year. Okay, let's keep things moving. If you go look at the fight between Elves Brener, sticking with Elves Brener, this guy's been Mr. Upset here. Where is it? His fight with Goram. Let's go check this out. And again, hopefully nothing bad happens here with YouTube, but you can see it there. Elves Brener, big underdog going into this one. He was plus 475 in this one. That was the UFC Fight Night card on July 1st. And if you look at it there, Goram, again, pushing back, and Elves Brener falling behind, and he gets the TKO finish over Goram in this fight. Again, cashing as a plus 475 favorite. Huge win from there. Kutateladze was minus 670 going into this fight. So if you were on the Elves Brener side, you definitely made some good coin on that one. Again, that took place at UFC Fight Night back on July 1st, I should say. Okay, now the last two, I think they're pretty obvious, but I'm sure you're curious to know exactly what the average odds closing line was on these. And the first one is probably what people consider the biggest upset this year, and that is Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya. So you'll see here, Wire has Adesanya as minus 750. Nick's list that he gave to me actually had Adesanya at minus 650, Strickland plus 470. So this odd's actually even more wide. So it just goes to show you how many people are counting out Sean Strickland in this fight. Now, this isn't him finishing Adesanya, but it is him almost knocking him out in the first round. But of course, Strickland went on to win a decision in that fight and capture the middleweight title. Incredible stuff here from Sean Strickland. He captures the title. Israel Adesanya minus 650, getting the full camp. Strickland taking this on short notice. There was a lot of optics against Strickland, and he went out there and got it done and emerged as one of the biggest fighters of this year. If you watch the award show, you'll see I did give Sean Strickland the fighter of the year here. So big win there for Strickland. He is Wire Martial Arts number 1 upset. I can see a lot of people going that way as far as the upset goes, but for me, he comes in at number 2 just based off the numbers, because there was an even bigger upset from the betting line. And that fight, again, no shocker here, was the Alexa Grasso Valentina Shevchenko fight. So he has it at number 3 here. Nick's list has it at number 1. Valentina Shevchenko closed as a minus 900 favorite. Alexa Grasso plus 575, which is just incredible. So you can see it here, the finish. Grasso tapping Shevchenko out. First stoppage loss for Valentina Shevchenko in the UFC. First loss since the Amanda Nunes fight. Grasso wins the flyweight title. You can see she's thrilled there. She's happy. Big win for her there, getting it done and capturing the flyweight title. So that was the biggest upset based off the numbers in 2023. And again, shout out to Nick Kalikas for that. Follow him on Twitter at Fight Odds. Nick also owns MMA Oddsbreaker. He also hosts the Gambler's Perspective, which I produce on UFC Fight Pass. So Nick's the guy to go to when it comes to fight odds and figuring all that out. So yeah, shout out to Nick for giving me this list. But we do have some honorable mentions that I wanted to throw in this video as well, because there were a couple other fights that definitely were considered big upsets based off the numbers. This fight, you'll remember, Jacob Malkoun and Cody Brundage. Jacob Malkoun going into the fight. This almost made the top 5. It was close. Jacob Malkoun was a minus 600 favorite going into his fight with Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage plus 450. And what happened in that fight? Well, you can see there a disqualification. And what happened? It was shots to the back of the head, elbow to the back of the head of Cody Brundage. And just the optics of this too was a bit crazy, because if Brundage lost this fight, he's probably getting cut from the UFC. So he ends up getting a win here due to the illegal blow. He ends up getting another contract. And at the time of recording this, Cody Brundage fighting Bo Nickel now. So it just goes to show how like things like this can really change the career of a fighter here. Brundage ends up getting the win. Malkoun loses. Brundage cashes right now as a plus 450 underdog. That was at the UFC Fight Night, September 23rd of this year. Okay, another one we got to look at too. Jamie Mullarkey, his fight against Naimov. We got it here. Jamie Mullarkey going into this fight. This was UFC Fight Night back on June 3rd. Mullarkey was a minus 450 favorite. The comeback on Naimov plus 350. And Naimov gets it done here. Boom! Knockout right there. Finishes him there. Huge win. Takes care of business. Actually, I think that was the finish, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was the finish. Okay, they just keep replaying it over and over again. But yeah, you can see there, Naimov coming in as a plus 350 favorite. Got to be one of our honorable mentions. Another one that everyone knows about, we'll mention it here too, Bobby Green knocking out Grant Dawson. Bobby Green coming into the fight as a plus 350 underdog. Grant Dawson minus 455. That fight was back on October 7th. And if you look at it here, Bobby Green handing Grant Dawson the first knockout loss of his career. Huge upset. Grant gets caught. Green goes in, gets the finish. And there you go, Grant Dawson, first stoppage loss in the UFC. Huge upset there for Bobby Green. And last but not least, this also gets our honorable mention, Lucas Alexander, his fight. He was a minus 530 favorite going into the fight. His opponent, I don't want to butcher his name, Jekka, he was plus 390 at the closing odds. That was at UFC Fight Night, November 18th. And look at it here, Lucas Alexander, big favorite. And he comes in, and here we go. Where's the knockout? Coming right now. Just going to give it a second here. Gets up. Boom. There you go. Knocked out. Catches as a plus 390 underdog. So there you go. That is a list of some of the top knockouts of this year. We'll just go over the list one more time here. I'm going to read this on the screen. And again, this is in the description, so you can see the timestamps to figure out exactly what the upsets were. So Nicholas Dalby plus 455 finishing Bonfim. You've got Elves Brener getting a controversial decision over Zubiara. You've got Elves Brener again knocking out Goram in his fight. That was a plus 475 underdog. You got Sean Strickland upsetting Israel Adesanya to win the middleweight title at UFC 293 back on September 9th. And then you've got Alexa Grasso's submission win over Valentina Shevchenko, getting to capture the flyweight title. That was back on March 4th as part of UFC 285. Same card as John Jones getting the, not upsetting, but getting the win over Cyril Gane as well. Really incredible card there. And then some honorable mentions, Cody Brundage plus 450 over Malkoun, Naimov plus 350 over Jamie Mullarkey. You've got Bobby Green at plus 350 over Grant Dawson, and you've got Lucas Alexander getting knocked out by a plus 390 underdog. Again, these are some of the biggest upsets of this year. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Did any of these surprise you? Again, we're going strictly off the numbers here. So people want to argue with me about what upset is more significant or bigger. It doesn't matter because I only went off numbers here. And again, one last shout out there to Nick Kalikas for getting me this list. Nick's the man. Go follow him. One of the leading odds makers in the business right now. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching this. Really appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.